3, 2, 1.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
Colby, I am so excited to see you later this year to film the overview videos for world history.
Me too. I've never been to Australia.
It'll be great. I'll show you around Sydney and introduce you to Australia's best historical sites.
Hey Kim, what do you call it when you get fooled by an animal in Australia?
What?
A kangaroos.
Bring jokes like that and you won't make it through customs. Anyway, I can't wait to see you this August.
Same.
Hi, I'm Kim Lochner, and along with Colby Burnett, we're introducing Unit 1, Narratives and Frames.
In this unit, we're going to ask the critical question, why does it matter what stories we tell about the past and how we tell them?
Like the narrative you told your friend Kim when you said you were going to come to Australia to film these videos?
Exactly! Wait, what?
I was just remembering how you bailed on me instead of coming to Australia to film these videos, like we agreed. And now we're stuck doing them over video chat. I even bought a tourist guidebook, Colby.
Kim, I'm sorry. That was months ago. I think tickets were just too expensive.
Maybe. But is that the whole story? Because you cancelled right around the time you found out that when it's summer in Illinois, it's winter in Australia. And then you kept posting pictures of yourself doing outdoorsy things in sunny Chicago.
It had nothing
I told
to do with
all
that.
my friends you were coming.
I just had a lot
I
going
booked
on
a
at the
tour
time.
of the Opera House.
Tom Hanks
and
gave
a meet
Australia
and greet
1
with
star
Dan
on
Mike.
Yelp.
Have you ever had a disagreement with a friend or a family member about something, but later on, neither of you could quite agree on what started the disagreement or how the argument escalated? If only you had had a time machine so you could go back in time and prove that you were right. Colby and Kim might be wishing the same thing right now. They don't have a time machine. What they do have is me, a professional historian. Hi, I'm Bennett Sherry. I'm one of the WHP historians, and I'm one of several historians that you're going to meet in this course. In this unit, you're going to be introduced to some of the most important tools that historians use to create narratives of the past. Throughout the course, you're going to encounter a lot of different history stories. But remember, different people, like Kim and Colby, often remember the same historical events in some very different ways. Historical narratives can prove to be quite useful in your own life as you seek to understand the present and prepare for the future. But some, as we'll see, are more useful than others. It's critical that we test the claims made in these narratives to determine whether they're based on any actual evidence. Let's examine all sides of Kim and Colby's argument and see if we can figure out what really happened. This is a skill we call claim testing, which you're going to practice a lot more in the coming months. So who's right? Why did Colby not travel to Australia that summer? Colby claims the flights were just too expensive, while Kim claims that Colby just wanted to stay in the hemisphere with the warmest weather. Let's put their claims to the test. One way to test claims is with numerical data. Of course, there's no Kim and Colby travel database, but we can combine some other pieces of evidence to get a bigger picture of why Colby's plans changed. This chart represents the average change in the cost of domestic and international airfare from the United States. Colby claimed that tickets were too expensive for him to travel to Australia as he had planned. But here we can see that even though the cost of international travel didn't decrease quite as much as domestic travel, it still wasn't expensive relative to 2019, and it even decreased for a little while. So things aren't looking too great for Colby's claim. But let's look at all sides of this argument and examine Kim's claim about the weather. These two charts show us the average monthly temperatures in Sydney and Chicago. If we look at the month of August, we see that, yeah, Colby could have guessed it would have been warmer in Chicago than Sydney, but August is the end of winter in Australia, and it's usually in the high 60s Fahrenheit, so it's not like he couldn't have enjoyed the outdoors. So it looks like neither expensive flights nor a nature-loving Colby are to blame. So what's a historian to do now? We can also explore the causes of Colby's missed travel plans by doing something called scale switching. We switch scales when we zoom in to explore smaller stories, or zoom out to gain a broader perspective. We've been focusing on the very personal story behind Kim and Colby's argument. But now let's shift scales and zoom out to see if any other big events were going on when they were planning this visit that might have impacted their narratives. On New Year's Eve, 2019, just as Colby and Kim were getting ready to celebrate the start of 2020 on 2 different continents, A new virus was spreading in the Chinese city of Wuhan. Though the World Health Organization declared an emergency in January, the Chinese government and many international leaders were slow to take action to halt the spread of the virus. By March 11th, the World Health Organization declared a global pandemic as cases of COVID-19 skyrocketed, particularly in Italy and Iran. By the end of March, the United States had the highest number of cases in the world. In August of 2020, the pandemic had reached nearly 25 million cases confirmed globally and over 800,000 deaths. And tragically, those numbers continued to climb through the following months. The economic fallout of the pandemic is significant. In many places, people have quarantined, businesses have closed, and people have lost jobs. In addition, domestic and international travel has been restricted. So now that we've zoomed out, we can see that this other narrative is much more significant than their claims about weather or travel prices.
Oh, right.
I totally forgot.
This whole year was a blur, but I guess it's the start of a new school year?
So, I guess it's time to start imparting historical knowledge to world history students.
And don't forget historical thinking skills like claim testing.
We've just introduced you to Unit 1, Narratives and Frames. In this unit, we'll cover the importance of historical narratives and highlight some of the key skills like claim testing and causation that historians use to evaluate these narratives. This unit begins with a couple of videos that introduce important concepts. Professor Bob Bain will expand on the idea of usable histories. Chimamanda Adichie will give you a guide to the importance of multiple perspectives on a global past. In all of the units that follow, you'll watch an overview video, like this one, where Colby and I will welcome you to a new time period and theme. We'll introduce the central question of the unit and look for answers by examining data and switching scales, by zooming in and out, like in the example you just saw.
In these overviews, Kim and I will also make connections to our frame narratives for each unit. You'll learn more about our 3 course frames from Professor Bob Bain in 4 videos at the end of this unit. But for now, just know that our 3 frames, communities, networks, and production and distribution, are like different picture frames you can place around any historical narrative in order to develop a richer understanding of past events.
As you progress through this course, remember, there are a lot of different narratives out there. It's your job to evaluate each story you encounter. That's the key to identifying what usable history means to you. Whether it's a disagreement between 2 friends or a violent conflict between 2 great empires, the narratives we choose to tell about the past and how we tell them have real consequences for how we understand our present and prepare for the future.
So Kim, since we're using data and scale switching in the rest of these videos, that means we'll never have another disagreement, right?
That's not what Bennett said at all.
Yes, it is. I took notes. Here, let me read back to you.
Well, I took notes too.
I watched the same video you
were
did.
just visited.
You're just
like
still mad at me for canceling.
We could have done
And
all
by
the
the
things
way,
I found
who
in my
uses a
$27
printed
guidebook here.
I know